So far, we're able to create web pages that convey information from our server: text, images, audio, video. But we haven't been able to change any information on the server or to add new data. To add or update data on your server requires the use of CGI resources, and we begin our exploration of that in this session. CGI flow of data and control. It all starts with forms on your web page. Recall these attributes available for form elements. Action names the resource that is your CGI target, a file name. Method, get, or post. There are a few others, but those aren't useful for us. Get can pass up to 2048 bytes to a CGI, and the data can only be character string. Post has no limit for size, and it can pass multiple files of any type. Enctype. Specify technique for encoding the data before transmitting to the CGI. One of application/x-www-form-URL encoded. This is the default. Spaces are converted to plus signs, and special characters are converted to their ASCII hex values. Used with get, and, if only sending text, with post. Multipart/form-data. Must use this if uploading one or more files using the form, so must be used with post if file contents being sent. Text/plain. Sometimes used with get if passing a file name. Spaces are converted to plus, but no further transformation. A form element contains control elements that are designed to pass data to a CGI. In order to pass data, a control must have a name and a value, and must not have the disabled attribute set. When a submit button for the form is pressed, controls with the required attribute are checked to see if they've been set, and if not, the user is directed to the unset field with an error message. Controls with min-length criteria are checked to see if they have at least that many characters entered, and if not, the user is directed to the short field with an error message. Controls of type URL are checked to see if the value is a valid URL format, and if not, the user is directed to the field with an error message. Controls of type email are checked to see if the value is a valid email format, and if not, the user is directed to the field with an error message. Any onSubmit event handler is run. If this returns false, the submit is canceled. This allows you to run a check-in routine to screen data before it is submitted to the CGI. Note, either have an onSubmit handler in the form element or an onClick handler in the submit button for this kind of work. Perhaps a quick review of how to validate data for a form in your browser using JavaScript would be helpful. See the third video in Lesson 17 in the Creating Websites course. In summary, create functions that check values for reasonableness. Exclude characters that don't make sense for the kind of data supposed to be in the field. For example, there's no need for these special characters in a name field. Ensure values are within valid ranges. For example, a month value is between 1 and 12, inclusive. Create a function that invokes these other functions and that returns false if any of these checks fail. I like to use a function name of checkVals, but it's your choice. In an onSubmit event handler for the form or an onClick event handler for a submit button, invoke your checkVals routine, or whatever you call it. Once all the checking and validation tests are passed, a data string is built consisting of the names and values for successful controls in the format indicated by enctype attribute for the form. This is called the form dataset. For the get method, the form dataset is built this way. Space characters are replaced by plus characters. Non-alphanumeric And non-alphanumeric characters, for example punctuation, are replaced by $XX, that is, a % followed by the 2 hex characters that compose the ASCII representation of the character. From the controls, a series of name equal value pairs are constructed, and each pair is terminated by an ampersand. Then the entire string is terminated by a null character, that is a hexadecimal 00. So this is called the URL encoded format. The browser constructs the CGI target URL as the file specified in the action attribute, followed by a question mark, followed by the URL encoded string. The browser then constructs a request message and sends it to the server. So you've submitted a form. Your browser runs the input element's content checks, and they pass. Your browser then builds the form dataset and sends a request to the server. At the server, the default processing works this way. Set up the form dataset so it is available to the CGI in the variable named query string. Also, set up some standard global variables that might be of use. The server assumes the CGI target is an executable program unless the file name ends with certain extensions. For example, an extension of PHP indicates the file is a PHP script, and the PHP processor should be run to interpret the script. So the program is run or the script is interpreted. In the case of PHP, the PHP processor reads the CGI script using a file handle of stdin, standard input. The script outputs text using the echo verb, which uses a file handle of stdout, standard output. The content of stdout, along with some HTTP headers, is sent back to your browser as a reply to the original request. There are many scripting languages other than PHP, but we're going to focus on using PHP in this course. We get into the specifics of the PHP language in the next lesson. But for now, let's look at some of the things any CGI program might do. Check the invoking method. Is it get or post as expected? Validate the data in the incoming form dataset. Access data files on the server to read and or update. Create new files on the server. Delete existing files on the server. Access, create, delete data in relational databases on the server. Send email to users. And log file access. Then generate output HTML code to go to standard out, so send in a reply page, or redirect the response to a different page. Let's do an example. We'll set up a page, addreservation.shtml, with a form for someone to sign up for our next trip to Japan. Here's the HTML. We start with our include for a file startpage.txt, which looks like this. And then in our title statement, we say sign up for and another include, tripname.txt, which is just this little bit of text. Then a style element with a couple of style rules in it, and then our include for the file afterhead.txt, which looks like this. And as you can see, we're starting the framing. Then we have our div for nav boxes. Let's bring that down a little bit. And nav boxes has a side box, and we include box 1, which is kind of extensive. And we'll take a look at that. And after that, we have another side box, which is just a file of planepic.txt, which just brings in an image of a plane taking off. And then we finish the left-hand column, and we go down to the content column, which has a form. Action equals CGI/addres.php method equals get. And now we've got our form, and I want to skip down a little bit to the first field set. There we are. and it asks for your information. And it asks for a first name and a family name and gender and birthday with year, month, and day. Now only first name and family name are required here. And then it wants your email address, and that is also required. Finally, in this group, we ask, well, how did you hear about this trip? And that's going to be under a name of ref. And then we have a second field set, so a different category, if you will, which says your contact information. So we get your street address, which is a name of adder 1, and street address line 2, which is a name of adder 2, and your city, and your state, province, or parish, depending on where you are, and your mail code or zip code, and your country of residence. Then, scrolling down a little bit, enter up to 3 phone numbers. And so now I've got 3 phones, and they are, first one is required, the other 2 are optional. And notice that the name of the mobile home and work under each one is the same. So these are radio buttons. Only one of them can be selected. And then that's the end of that field set. And there's our submit button and our reset button. And then at the end, our include for the file endpage.shtml, which looks like this. I have a few notes. For this form, I used method equals get and action equals CGI/addres.php. Now, it's most common to put CGIs into the CGI-bin directory, but I have a habit of using a directory just named CGIs. We'll look at addres.php in the next lesson. The variable names to send to the CGI are first name, family name, gender, B year, B month, B day, email, ref, adder 1, adder 2, city, state, zip, country, phone 1, ph1 underscore type, phone 2, ph2 underscore type, phone 3, ph3 underscore type. Notice the phone type fields are radio buttons, so multiple controls with the same name. Only one of each group will be sent to the server. And there is no data validation routine for the form. And it displays this way, as we've already shown. When the user presses the submit button, the browser will ensure the user has supplied some value for first name, family name, email, and phone 1, and that the email string is a valid email format. Any onSubmit event handler is run, and the browser constructs the URL encoded string and appends it to the target URL for the CGI. On the server, the query underscore string will contain first name equals value ampersand, family name equals value ampersand, gender equals value ampersand, B year equals value ampersand, B month equals value ampersand, B day equals value ampersand, email equals value ampersand, ref equals value ampersand, adder 1 equals value ampersand, adder 2 equals value ampersand, city equals value ampersand, state equals value ampersand, zip equals value ampersand, country equals value ampersand, phone 1 equals value ampersand, ph1 underscore type equals value ampersand, phone 2 equals value ampersand, ph2 underscore type equals value ampersand, phone 3 equals value ampersand, ph3 underscore type equals value ampersand, subber equals value, and a hexadecimal 00 as one continuous string. Control will then be passed to the PHP processor, which will read and interpret addres.php found in the server directory named CGIs. So that's the big picture with CGIs and how they interact between the client and the server. Note that your ISP must set you up to be able to run PHP CGIs. The official standard is at https://tools.ietf.org/html/rfc3875. In this lesson, we reviewed some form and control information and looked at how your browser handles requests to submit data from a form. Then we looked at how the server sets the stage for a CGI program or script to run and the kinds of actions a CGI can do. Coming up, in our next lesson, we'll begin exploring how to code PHP scripts. See you there.